Hey Freya, how you doing? For other folks that are here early, we'll probably get started at like 12:05. We just logged on a little early to make sure we had all the technical issues sorted out. So I'm hoping, Freya, that my internet holds. We'll see. But I figured maybe I would start by just introducing the call and then I could pass it over to you and you can run the meeting. Does that work for you? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, no. I hope my internet is also going to be stable enough to hold it off. But yeah,
Cool. Yeah, I'm also happy to do the questions unless it cuts out and then you can cut in. But I figure if you're here,
yeah,
you might as well run this session. But I'm happy either way.
yeah. Maybe you can start off, and then hopefully by that time I'll have a gauge of my internet. So far, it's working good today.
Okay,
It was really
cool.
bad during the thing, but then I can take off any time, and then I can we can go back and forth as well. That's fine.
Yeah, we can kind of go back and forth on different questions. Maybe I can start it off by just asking. Maybe I can just ask like this. But how about this? How about we do the three? How about the three of you, like you and Chelsea and John are the panelists, and I'm kind of the moderator. So I'll ask you guys to all introduce yourselves, and then I'll ask questions that are both to John, Chelsea, and you. And then if my internet drops off, then you just become the moderator. How about that? You can
Yeah,
provide like the leadership perspective. Okay, cool.
got it, got it, got it. Yeah,
That works.
yeah. Where are you? Like in Boston somewhere, or?
No, so I am on sort of semi-vacation this week. I am in California, Northern California, at this like this meditation retreat center called Esalen. It's really pretty. It's right on the coast of
Oh.
yeah, right by Big Sur, maybe like 30 minutes south of Big Sur.
That's nice. Yeah, you really need some break, honestly. You do so much. Um,
Yeah, my wife has been wanting to come to this place for like 5 or 6 years. So she like ended up taking the plunge, and then I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to take off, like if I'll have time to do it, but I ended up coming through, so it was definitely worth it. It's stunningly beautiful out here.
oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
Nice. I see we have some more people joining. Very good. Hello for everyone who's here. We'll probably get started with the official programming around 12:05. In the meantime, though, if you guys want to let us know where you're dialing in from, it's always fun. Edmonton, nice. Toronto. Oh, we get strong Canadian representation on the call. I love it. Bay Area, Boston, Houston. Nice. Oh, I see we've got more people joining. I see John is here. Awesome. Thank you all for joining. Hey, John.
Hey, how are you, Oliver?
Great. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
In the lab?
In the office, but yeah, general.
Nice.
Is that a background, or are you like in front of a cabin?
No, I'm in front of a cabin. I'm
Man, that's
out in
awesome.
Northern California right now.
So badass.
Yeah, hopefully my internet holds. The internet's a little sketchy over here, so knock on wood, I think we'll be good. While I'm thinking of that, I should make Faria a host also. Make co-host, confirm, and then Caroline as well. Oh, you're already co-host. Perfect. Awesome. I think we are still waiting for Chelsea. Usually it takes until about 12:05 for us to get started with these, just because we always have people filtering in. So,
Good. Yep.
but yeah, in the meantime, for anyone that joined, if you want to drop where you're dialing into the chat, that's always fun to see.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Another one from Boston. Oh, another one from Boston. Hey, Steve. Seattle. Someone dialing in from SF Tech Week. Nice.
Germany, that's awesome.
There we go.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hey, Chelsea, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much, both to you and John, for joining us for this very exciting session for folks that are really interested to learn more about the activator and also hear more about your guys' science and journeys. I think we'll maybe wait 2 more minutes before we kick things off, just because it always takes a couple minutes after the hour for folks to dial in.
Ali. Good.
Very nice. And while we're waiting, I'm just going to put this link in the chat for everyone who's dialing in that wants to learn more or apply to the activator. There's a site link right there that you can check out. It's got all sorts of great resources, including the application, links to past info sessions, links to register for upcoming info sessions. And I'll just continue. I'll probably spam the chat with that link a few more times, just because I know when people join, it doesn't always show the previous links that were posted. But this will be a great way today to get hopefully all of your questions answered about the program. So maybe we can go ahead and just sort of kick it off. I'll start, we'll do some quick introductions. So thank you everyone for joining. My name is Oliver. I'm one of the co-founders of Nucleate and currently serve full-time as the executive director. I will be moderating today's panel, but as I mentioned earlier, my internet is a little bit sketchy. So if the internet goes out, luckily we also have Fariha, who is one of our panelists today, who will take over as moderator for me if I have to drop. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but maybe I'll pass it to Fariha to introduce herself.
Hi everyone. Thanks Oliver for having me here. Help and support any way I can. My name is Ruriha and I'm one of the co-MDs of Nucleate New York chapter. As a leader, it will be actually my third year running the activator, so I'm very excited to see what's coming ahead of us, and really happy to support all the early stage founders. Thanks.
Great. And John, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Yep. I'm Jonathan Rittichier, CSO and co-founder of EnPlusOne Biosciences, synthetic organic chemist by trade. And then I did a postdoc with George Church. And in George's lab, teamed up with really talented scientists, particularly Dan Weigand. And then later on, Dan Alstead. And we developed a tech, kind of took it from conception all the way through getting like funded by North Pond. But in the meantime, we actually won Nucleate. And so that's kind of like what brought us here. Right now, we are actually raising our Series A, N+1.
Very nice. I actually see Dan W is on the call, so that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Getting the team back together.
Yeah.
And Chelsea, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Oliver, is that a real background? Where are you?
It is. Yeah, I'm in Northern California right now.
That looks beautiful. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here. I'm obviously like a huge fan of Nucleate. It's been really enabling for us Just a quick background on myself. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Neoclease, or just Neo for short. I have a PhD in neuroscience from Boston University, where I met one of my co-founders and spent more time after the PhD really on the business side of industry. So consulting on sort of FDA regulations for biotech and pharma companies. Worked at a small MIT Media Lab spinout where I grew into business development while I was there, really partnering with pharma companies on digital endpoints for clinical trials with this wearable AI sensor technology that we had. And then spent about a year at Regeneron leading strategic partnerships for global clinical development. And then was going to join another pharma company up in Boston when my co-founder was like, we have this really cool technology. You have 2 months off. Do you mind like building out the deck? And so I just got really so excited in those 2 months about what we were building and ended up joining full time and deferring the job, which I'm pretty sure is no longer waiting for me.
Amazing. Awesome. So maybe first to Chelsea and then to John, could you tell us just a little bit about the company, the technology, the science? Just give us a little bit of a flavor of, what you're doing at your company and maybe a bit of the genesis about, how you're able to kind of pull that technology out of the lab and into something, that is sort of charging towards the clinic or a market, So maybe starting with Chelsea.
Yeah, sure. So at like a super high level at Neo, our mission is to cure genetic diseases, and we have the goal of eventually preventing them from ever happening. And we're doing that through the design of gene-specific editors. And our first focus is on Parkinson's disease. And so I guess about 2.5 years ago, three co-founders came together. So it was our CTO, Dr. Jin Liu. She's a tenured professor down at the University of North Texas. Vivek Gowda, who's our head of research, and then myself were really thinking through. Dr. Liu's work has really been focused on the design of novel gene editors using AI and more recently generative AI to create miniaturized editors to kind of overcome a lot of the hurdles that we see in CRISPR therapy. So editors that are too large to deliver, we see off-target edits. And so it was really how can we improve the functionality of these editors, and using Vivek's experience at CRISPR, thinking through if we can actually, instead of using one protein like Cas9 to target everywhere in the genome, why don't we actually optimize every editor for a target gene sequence? Drug discovery has always been, let's make one very specific thing to target this one very specific thing. And so it's almost strange that gene editing has been the opposite approach of like, let's make one thing to do everything. And so we've been able to build a generative model through a lot of support from Amazon and NVIDIA that's been trained on 3 million known proteins that cut the DNA. And so now we can look at a target gene like LRRK2 and Parkinson's and back build the exact features that we need. So class, type of cut, recognition sequences, binding energies, and then screen through this evaluation pipeline we developed which editors we want to take into the wet lab. So it's like a discovery process that takes about a week versus what can sometimes take years. And we just got some like amazing wet lab data a couple weeks ago showing that a third of our editors that we brought in this like initial screening are able to cut sites within the LRRK2 gene for Parkinson's that CRISPR can't reach because they're non-canonical PAMs. And our one that's performing the best is super small. So it's like 630 amino acids. So it's a lot, it's like less than half the size of Cas9. So it's like an incredible first result. And we're going to now raise our seed round of 5 million based on this data and to bring our LRRK2 editor to IND enabling studies where we want to partner it out to pharma companies.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
Jonathan.
Yeah, that's awesome. So RNA is really important. That's like Chelsea's making that point. So we're in RNA therapeutics as well. We're really on the manufacturing and supply side. So just one siRNA therapeutic that's able to treat the population. Actually, if it's going to actually deliver on the promise of treating the population, is going to take more than like 3 times the world supply of a raw material. So it's totally unsustainable. And there are something like 40 or 50 in this actual clinical trials to come along. So we have a super huge problem with getting our hands on therapeutic RNA. So that's where EnPlusOne comes in. How do we deliver therapeutic RNA and deliver it at scale? So what we have at EnPlusOne is a technology that was designed and built to do just that, to deliver RNA at limitless scale. We have what we call like 3 technology verticals. Our first one is de novo synthesis. Our second one is ligation, and our third one is novel sequences, novel modifications for novel design. So our first one is kind of the crown jewel. It's what we use to show the world that enzymes can actually deliver therapeutic RNA, and we did that with the Leqvio antisense strand. So we were the world's first to be able to demonstrate this. Ligation just makes the platform even more powerful. We've accessed guide RNA through this, so we can make Casgevy. Our favorite example of this is what we call the 10 by 10 synthesis. We can take 10 short mers, bring them together, ligate them, and then get out Casgevy. And then thirdly, the novel modifications. We've demonstrated over 100 different novel RNA strands, and we can incorporate all kinds of new and interesting things. This all comes down to the fact that we're using what nature uses to make RNA. We're using an enzyme. We're doing it gently, mildly. We're doing it template independently, and we're doing it aqueous. So we believe that this is what's going to actually be able to get all these new gene therapies out to the world.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. So maybe just a quick follow-up before I pass it to Fariha as well. Can you both take a minute to just kind of talk about, like, how did you learn about Nucleate? You know, what was the program like when you did it? What were some of like the key sort of unlocks for you by doing the activator program?
Yeah, I can start. I feel like a lot of things in the company have just been like the right place at the right time. And like sometimes it feels like, I don't know, not to get like like too philosophical, but sometimes I just feel like the universe is like pushing you in a certain direction. But I was part of one of Vineet at Mass Ventures, his business class. Where we were kind of a use case for the business students in his class. And one of the Nucleate Boston leads was taking that class, took on our company. And at the end of the program, Yalim said to me, like, oh, like, just so you know, there's this thing called Nucleate, like you guys might be a good fit if you want to apply. And I kind of was like, okay, cool. Like sort of logged that in my brain. And then like a week later, I randomly ran into Josh, another program lead at Nucleate, on an elevator, and he also started talking to me about Nucleate. And so it was these two kind of like pings of Nucleate. And so I like started researching about it and messaged Yalim, and I said, this looks really cool. Like, could we be a good fit? And so I ended up applying for it. So that's like how we learned about it. It was kind of just like very fortuitous. And I mean, so you said like what was unlocking, or like what was the experience of Activator for me? So you know, I've been on the business side of industry, but I've never started a company. And so the deck that I did put together for the team when I joined was not the deck that we have today. And so going through the activator program as a first-time founder, along with 2 other co-founders that were also first-time founders, was just like so enabling in terms of learning like all the different elements that you need to start a company early, to be able to like think through like what investors are going to ask you, what's sort of like the early operational elements that you need. And then just along the way, there are so many mentors that you can ping for regulatory expertise, legal support. And so it really like helped formulate the story and idea around what we were building at Neo, and like target strategy in a way that I don't think we ever would have gotten to without it. And even some of the mentors that we had in the program still like touch base with us all the time. Like I saw one of them last week. And so it's just been this like sort of continuous support network that we've had. So that's just been incredible. And then, you know, just in terms of getting like early funding and support, you know, we've only raised a small amount of cash, like 100K on an uncapped safe. And so that's been like enabling for this initial in vitro development work, but a lot of it was through partnerships. One of them is a grant that we received from Lapore Sigma. And this was all kind of like, I feel like unlocked through Nucleate and sort of those connections. And then I would just say the thing that's been most surprising about the Nucleate program is just sort of the network that you have post activator. Like Oliver, like all the Nucleate team just like continues to engage you and check in with you and invite you to events. And so it's not like you're in it just for the short time and then you've like learned everything and like go fly. It's just like it's constant like whatever you need, like they're there for you. And that's been also just like a really fantastic and enabling experience, because also like now Nucleate's everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you for the kind words, Jonathan.
Yeah, that was super good. Like Nucleate being everywhere is true, and that always surprises me.
So
So
fast.
yeah, it's so awesome. I was pretty early days, and I actually worked right across from Sufyan, who is one of the co-founders of Nucleate, and I didn't really take it too seriously. I thought this was like his like little side project. So he was actually he kept hassling us to join it, and we were kind of like dragging our feet. We're like, we have so much stuff to do. We're in lab. Showed up, and we're like, oh, this is for real. This is like super awesome. So I'd say what I was like really surprised that it unlocked would be two things. Number one, we did find our COO through this, Dan Alstead. The matchmaking worked. And he brought like a level of commercial mindedness that we were not even like thinking about at all. So it brought a level of seriousness and like, oh, like this can actually get some really good traction. That being besides like all the great materials that we generated. I guess on the note of the materials we generated, what this also unlocked was $2 million while we were still in the lab where we were like developing the technology. So kind of we were in the Wyss Institute at Harvard, and North Pond had just started this alliance, and they kind of surprised all the researchers that, hey, why don't you just come to this pitch day for this North Pond Alliance and see, if they're interested and they can give you some funding. We were the only ones that had just gone through this. So we were like very, very well prepared. We kind of like stood above everybody else, which was great because we ended up getting that and that helped out a lot. So definitely unlocked those two things. And then I think I'll have to steal Chelsea's on what I've been surprised about. I've been surprised like how much of the interaction that does continue and like how it does help like stay hungry and keep it like a lot of vitality. So we do like participate and go to these things, and it is really great to see like great new ideas coming and reminding you of like how special it is that you've been able to come along and do this stuff and like you're real blessed. So that's what I'd say about it.
It's awesome. Thank you guys for sharing your perspective. And I'd love to pivot to Fariha for a second to kind of provide, the leadership perspective as one of our awesome leaders who's running the New York chapter and has been involved for many years and is also now at the HQ level has been for a while helping really organize the activator across all of our regions. Fariha, do you have like I guess like sort of looking at because you've had the experience of being able to see many different teams, right, go through in different regions. What are the things that you heard from John and Chelsea that kind of resonate? And are there other aspects of the program that you've heard alumni talk about favorably that you would like to kind of maybe highlight for folks on the call that might be, on the edge of thinking about whether or not they should apply?
No, definitely. There's a lot of the same points that I always hear from the alumni that kind of really tells us that we're doing a great job, no matter what the region they're in. But agreeing, we do provide a network where you can actually go and meet all of these investors, whoever's in your community, and build that whole ground for you to go up, above and beyond. Another thing that I also see from or hear from our alumni is there's so many other programs available. Maybe why activator and like how are we complementary? So I see a lot of people who come from I-Corps, different regionals, or other different programs, and they always say that it really helps them with the value proposition, how to talk to investors, um, and it really helps them with maybe they were thinking about customer discovery, so that they have that covered now. But when they come to Nucleate, we really push in a very different way to go out there and talk to different people, not only to cater to one type of person, but how do you talk to different people in the ecosystem? So that's something I hear a lot. And I know there are some like experts and mentors here in the call with us who have been the backbone of our program, and how they are still in touch with them, how maybe they have gotten connections, they were interested in the tech, and then right after the program they're still going strong and still meeting up, still discussing different potential ideas of collaborating. So those are like really key points that I always hear from our alumni, no matter where we go. And then finding the COO. I've been hearing a lot from our last year cycle that, hey, we're really, excited about after doing Activator. So I'm going to incorporate. I talked to the members who were in the program with me. So they want to be in the, early stage, team. So I've heard from like at least a few teams that they really want to go forward with the team. But in that case, I would also like to advise people who come to this program that be proactive and take it seriously, because if you have a good dynamic with the team and the idea is great and you're really working hard, you can really go a long way after this program and like meet the right people in the journey as well.
Brilliant. I do have more questions, but before I ask them, I'd love to just open it up to the audience, see if anyone here has questions for John or Chelsea or Fariha or generally about the program.
John, what year were you for the Activator?
Yeah, we were the shutdown year, so half of it
Oh,
we were present live, and then half we were closed.
wow. Cool.
2019, 2020.
That was a crazy year,
Yeah.
to say the least.
And
Yeah,
also,
I had a
can
question.
I just wanted to like piggyback off of something that you were saying, Free.
Yeah, please
And
go
I'm
ahead.
pretty sure it's still the same. But like another thing, just like in case people are wondering, like we partnered, so we had all of our co-founders for the company going into the Activator program, and we definitely needed additional expertise and like, always need more expertise. But I think like I don't know if you guys have like talked about that already or if people on the call are aware, but like you can bring people onto your team during Activator that don't necessarily end up like they don't need to be with your company for the rest of it. So that was just something that like I remember I had questions about in the beginning, and so like met great people in the program that helped us while we were on it that were potentially going to join the company. But also like if you don't need another co-founder, that's okay. Still the same, right,
No,
Oliver? Okay.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, Faria, maybe you can. Yeah, I'm
But I
sure
know
this is
so
one of
many
our
people have
most.
found like awesome co-founders through it too. So like the matching process is really neat.
It's one of our most
Yes,
frequently
no,
asked questions, I think. Yeah.
that is true. Yeah, we don't impose any co-founder relationship. It's still the same. If everything goes good, it's all about how much you put in, how proactive you are, if you're showing up to to do the work. Other than that, I don't think you should expect all of that. But just to like, piggyback on the same question, people, I was going to ask about the team formation, but you kind of talked about it. And you say you are still in touch with your mentors. But what would you advise? Right now, you're on the other side, and people who are coming in, and they should understand the mentors and experts, the workshops that happen. People are donating their time. What kind of strategy you had that or like you would tell people like the advice that how to foster like a mentor-mentee relationship, that taking the best out of their time, like what kind of homework you should be doing before all the workshop, what kind of strategy you had to make the most out of it. Because if you really are not thinking, because I'm pretty sure everyone has something else like PhD students or like jobs, how do you really make the most out of it throughout the program with the experts and the mentors and the workshops? Anything that have worked for you guys as a team that you put this much time apart? You guys had like regular meetings about, like debriefing after each workshop. Like what worked for you throughout this program? Yeah.
I could go first real quick. So number one, like doing the homework is very important. I'm sure everybody here does their homework, but like showing up to those things unprepared is terrible. I said that because like we had, some issue like originally where we didn't get matched with like the greatest mentor ever, and then they didn't do some of their homework, and then we quickly like were able to work with Activate and get that fixed. But like doing the homework, like it's incredibly valuable, really fast. And like if everybody's ready and on the same page, like it works very, very well. So that would be mine. And then the second one is like it takes a little bit, of course, like every relationship of like getting to know the person. But we did kind of find that, you know, honesty, like very, very honest, and like kind of where you're vulnerable and bringing that up and being able to talk through that can really, really make you like very, very strong. So you can find out there's some things that, oh, like literally that's a common issue, a concern that like, yeah, maybe the business model isn't clean, isn't understood, and it's fine. Just be confident with it and start with that. So like various things. So just like once you learn the relationship, seeing like how you can find those weaknesses and like really discuss them, it's very good.
Yeah, like I always sort of like when I hear like you get out of it what you put into it, I'm always like, oh, I hate that. But like it is true for this. And like I remember hearing that going into it. And like I remember feeling like some of the homework was a lot. Like just like in terms of the preparation. But and like you can spend a lot of time on it, you can spend a little bit of time on it. But I remember going through it, like almost every workshop that we had ends up being a slide on your deck, or like a like very sort of like important pillar of your company going forward. And so it is definitely worthwhile. And I know I really did feel like I learned a lot at each of the workshops. And so I think in terms of like obviously aside from just like doing the homework, I think for the mentor selection, it's kind of like just pinpoint like what are the areas that you feel like maybe like the top two, but maybe even like just in because it depends on who you meet, like the top 5 areas that you feel like you could use advice in. And I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this, but like I think we had 2 mentors, but we even had like a third one that was like low key advising in the background. So like we just like there were different areas that we needed expertise on. We met some really great mentors during the matching process. And so I think just to like know those questions that you have in mind, and I agree, like try to be as open as you can about like what you're building. Like these aren't necessarily going to be the people that are going to be funding you. And I think by the end of the program, you make such big gains that that mentality will flip anyways. And then I would say just because the workshops are so different and the topics are like it's like a really intense like focus session, is like one thing I wish I'd done better was maybe to like sort of like the brief takeaways or highlights on every topic, because I know some of them weren't like as top of mind at the time, but I'm like thinking through it now and I'm like, oh, I need to go back to my notes on that one workshop because they become more relevant as you move forward. And so just like cataloging all of that or just like all of it into like ChatGPT or something so that you can like query it later.
Chelsea, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Can I like steal your idea and say one of the things I wish I had done better? I wish I would have thought of that. Like like taking down names of like all the mentors and like really
Great.
like working the room better. Like I could have done way better that. And I have gone back and been like, dang it, like I know this person, I can't place them. Like if I would have done that, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, like even from like, because I know there's that initial sort of mentor matching, but then even like in every workshop, you're getting different expertise. And so just like, I'm like, oh, I do need to go through that because there were some really good people like on the venture side or on the regulatory side that I'm like, oh, I should go ping them for these things now.
Yeah. Yeah.
We actually do get these questions from a few teams that are like, oh my God, I forgot to actually take the email address, but we do provide them afterwards. And if the chat goes really well, they actually do that within that time frame. But no, those are some great points for people who are applying to Activator, and they can take the most out of it. But I'll pass it to Oliver if he had any questions regarding that.
No, I think these are great. These are great questions and great discussion because yeah, I think another question we do have that comes up during the program is like, how can I, make the most of the resources that I'm being given here? And again, just to echo what's been said multiple times, it's really like, you get out what you put in, especially given that, Nucleate is something that is it's run by mostly, academic trainees, like graduate students, postdocs, people that are part of the same community that we're trying to serve. And those people are really there for you and they really want to help, right? But I think it is always refreshing when you're on the leadership side to have teams in the cohort that are super engaged, right? That are taking those proactive steps to really make sure that they're using all of the resources at their disposal. I think especially now with everything that's going on, especially in the US, but also, globally with, the macroeconomic climate and all of the challenges that we're seeing to, the defense of science and basic research and funding. the types of resources and the fact that this is a completely free program, I think is really important, and it's a lifeline, I think, still for a lot of folks that are out there thinking about, how can I get my start? How can I try and get this technology out of the lab into something that's going to make it to a patient or make it to a consumer market. So yeah, just +1 to the being proactive and making the use of the resources. And that extends, as Chelsea and John mentioned, after you leave, right? Feel free to, make asks of, stay in contact with those regional leaders, send me emails, right? Anything that our alumni need. We really do spend a lot of time thinking about how we can provide those things and continue to support them, as they exit the program.
And I think also just like during the program, then after, the Slack channel has been like a really nice way to easily stay connected with like sort of like the global nucleate community, but then also like your like Boston, for me, specific community. Because there's always like events or job postings or like new people. So we've like had people that have been able to like come and just like work on a small project with us, or like I've been able to like pass jobs along to other people. And then I think just in terms of like the network of like different events, for meeting new VCs or potential partners, that's also been super helpful and just like a way to stay very engaged.
Totally. Okay, so does anyone have questions? We would love to take your questions. I'm also going to repost in the chat the link to our link tree for the activator, where you guys can learn more and apply and watch prior info sessions and take a look at the FAQ one pager if that is useful for you. But yeah, I'll open it up. Feel free to unmute and ask your question or put it in the chat. It always takes a minute, but I'm pretty sure that there's got to be at least one person with a question out there.
Hi,
Shelly,
can you hear me? Yeah.
yes.
Hi, nice to meet you. We're not even really a company, like me and my like I don't know, partner, I guess, are like just really, really early on, and our supervisor was kind of suggesting like trying to go for the activator program. And the thing that we're struggling with is I don't know per se if it's the language of like the whole like idea of like how businesses work and stuff, because we sort of have like the science idea, but what we struggle with is like translating that. So I'm kind of hoping like that the program, I don't know if we're way too early on with what we have, because I think that the program will be helpful for us to like kind of understand the business side of it, but is it way too early to kind of even go for the activator program?
So you
I don't know
don't
if that makes
need.
sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And we also get this question a lot. You don't need to be incorporated to do the activator program. So the majority of the teams that we take in are not incorporated. They're still in the lab. They don't have an entity. For reference,
Hmm.
last year we had 200 teams and only 30% of those teams were incorporated. So the vast majority of teams are not incorporated, and it's okay to be at that stage. That's like a great spot for us. We also take and provide support to companies that are incorporated. Usually the cutoff for us in terms of like someone being too early is the state of the science. So if it's really like a napkin idea where it's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we did X, Y, Z, then that's probably too early. But if you have a concept and you have solid in vitro data, or even better, in vivo data, as long as you have some data on the concept, that typically puts you in the wheelhouse for being at the right stage of the program. So I guess really quickly, sort of what is your concept and how much data do you have?
We're more in the like biomarker discovery side of things. So we have this like technology that we've been using for looking at like deeper into serum or like blood, because in terms of like proteomics, that's what we're like focusing on. So blood
Cool.
proteomics is really hard to do because there's a really high abundance of like proteins like albumin and things that are kind of masking all the low abundant proteins that are maybe interesting in certain diseases. So we have patient samples from like clinical data with different autoimmune diseases, stroke, things like that. And right now we're kind of sifting through trying to look at which one of these diseases kind of has like higher abundance of these proteins, which previously is like really hard to look at because of just the amount of these highly abundant proteins that you usually see in blood. So I think that the idea generally has been
Do
kind
you
of
have a way to
working.
remove those high abundant proteins so that you can, or like
Yeah.
isolate the low abundant signals?
Yeah, it's nothing that we created, but just we've been using this pipeline. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I would take a shot. Again, like you don't need to have an incorporated company or like a fully finished products, but if you have some data that shows that your approach is viable, that's usually where we sort of look at in terms of the evaluation for being the right fit.
Hmm. Okay. Thanks.
No worries. Nadia has a question about how Nucleate helps navigate text transfer. Um, so yes, we do have workshops on intellectual property, and there are the opportunity to be paired with like a legal mentor or expert who would be willing to give you some free advice on your intellectual property strategy or the transfer process. Nucleate does not create any new IP, nor do we like engage the university on your behalf to like do any negotiating or anything like that. But we do expose you to people and resources that can help you answer that question. Like other founders, right? Usually have really good advice for navigating that process. It can be a little bit tricky. Obviously, lawyers you're going to need to retain at some point for doing that process. And there are workshops that we hold on that topic. We also, on the horizon, have a written resource coming out, which will cover technology licensing from universities. Any other questions that people have? Can also be okay if these questions are about for the panelists, about their science, about their company. It doesn't necessarily have to be the activator. I see William unmuted.
Hi. My question's for Jonathan and Chelsea. So when evaluating activators, what kind of made you pick, or accelerators, what made you pick Nucleate? Like, what made you go in this direction?
So, we were only like a couple months old, and so I wasn't as aware of the entire landscape. But now that I am, I think they're pretty unique in terms of like offering something like this without taking any equity. Um, and I honestly haven't seen a lot of like activator like or sort of programs like this. And sort of like the full range of guidance that's given was, I mean, for us, super valuable. And I'm not as aware. Like we just went through the C10 AI Bio Hub program, and that was just like very tailored to a specific thing. And so I felt like Nucleate was like a really good way for us to like first get off the ground as a new company without like any strings attached. So I don't know, Oliver and Jonathan, yeah, Jonathan, but also Oliver will probably have more of an insight into other programs as well.
I would say like for me it was like Forrest Gump. I was very lucky to be very close to Soof and then like find the right one. I'd really say like I would not do another one after it. Like it was really rigorous. It was a lot. If I was going to find one that was less rigorous, wouldn't have given any as much stuff. And then we had all the materials then, and there was no reason to go on to another one. So definitely say like this one was great, and it's enough for me.
Yeah, Oliver, who are your competitors?
It's a great question. I think it depends on how you define competitor, because if you think about the traditional accelerator model, right? The traditional accelerator model is you give up equity or you pay money in exchange for resources, right? And what that requires, typically it's you give up equity in exchange for resources. So like take something like Y Combinator, right? Or like Techstars or something like that. But what that requires is that those accelerators can only serve people that are incorporated, right? So when you think about how you define competition, I would argue that accelerators aren't even necessarily a competitive for us, because we can work with people before they incorporate. Because we don't take any equity or charge any fees, we can work with people while they're still in the lab. So what that provides, the outcomes that our activator, and this is why we call it an activator instead of an accelerator, the outcomes that we can provide for are more diverse than a traditional accelerator. Traditional accelerator, you have to leave academia, incorporate your company before you can even get access to their resources. And then once you've done that, basically there's two outcomes. Your company succeeds or your company fails, right? With the activator, you can engage with our resources before ever incorporating, build out your entire company thesis on paper. And then there's three outcomes. There's your company fails so fast, you never even wasted the time to incorporate it. Like basically you talk to all the players and you realize, wow, this is a great science project. It's a great academic publication, but no one's going to invest in it. It's not going to be a company for XYZ reason, right? So then you can save everyone a bunch of time and money, go do the next thing for your career. The second outcome is that you start your company. That's awesome. We see that outcome happens a lot. We have 183 alumni companies incorporated. They've now raised about 570 million and created about 800 jobs. The third outcome, which is the unique outcome that we provide for, which is the one I'm most excited about, is people come to the program and then they finish and they realize, wow, I've got something here. This will be a company, right? But I've talked to all the players and there's like 3 key questions I need to answer before this becomes investable. And these are the 3 key questions. Now you've got maybe a year or 2 left in the lab still. You can pivot your academic research to answer those questions, and then you can build value in your company while you're still in academia and then launch the right way with the right value. And I think that outcome is increasingly important right now, right? Where it's much harder to get investment than it was even 18 months ago. So I think like how I would define competition is an interesting question. But when you compare us to things like traditional accelerators, I think the advantages are clear. Like we don't cost any money. We're much more flexible and we can work with you without requiring you to incorporate. So you can stay in academia and continue to use resources there to kind of go along your path. And then I think the third thing would be that we're very life sciences focused. So when you look at a lot of other accelerators that have more of a generalist model or they support many different types of companies, that might work for like hardware and software and all of that stuff. But doing a therapeutics company, doing a real sort of platform R&D hardcore biotech company does require very different resources, timelines, and expertise than something like a services or a SaaS company, right? So, and that's basically the network that we've built. So, and we don't do anything other than life sciences. So that sort of very specific focus means that our network is like, honestly, in my opinion, just better than many of the other paid accelerator programs out there.
I don't
So
know
that
if
would be
it,
my answer.
I don't know if it has anything to, and like I haven't been part of any of the programs where you need to give up equity, but like my feeling about Nucleate and what I don't know, imagine to be true is there's also just kind of like an underlying generosity and goodwill to all of the people, like because it is student run, like there is like this enthusiasm and support and goodwill and passion that I think is kind of like within sort of like the bones of Nucleate that I've also just really appreciated. Like you feel very supported as opposed to like competitive, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I think the leaders that run the regional chapters and do a lot of the programming are super invested in the teams that we're supporting. And I do think that, because it's a nonprofit, because we're not taking a stake in the companies or investing in people like in a monetary sense, we have the flexibility to support people in ways that those models would otherwise constrain, right? If you think about a lot of accelerators and incubators, they're also, selecting projects and people that they feel like are investable at that moment in time, right? Whereas with what we're doing, we have the opportunity to support a little bit more top of the funnel type activity and really help sort of shape people's development into, sort of a company or a leadership position that will be exciting for them. But that's just a little bit about, I think, how we're differentiated.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Does anyone have any other questions?
Oliver, I have a question. This is Maria.
Yes.
So, for the activator program, if we already have co-founding team in place, do we still need to provide a pitch deck that need to be shared with other people? Because it's not our intention to find other co-founders, but we would want to benefit from what activator has to offer.
Yes. You do not need to, when you join the activator, you have the opportunity to matchmake with a potential co-founder. That person those relationships are not enforced. So you can totally go through the activator, basically match with what we call a business contributor. If you're applying with an invention as a technical contributor, we try to match you with a business contributor. These are often people like in business school in your regional ecosystem that have experience and want to get more experience by learning in a hands-on way. The program itself is an educational exercise. So by pairing you with that person, it achieves like 2 things. One, it gives that person the educational experience of working with someone who has a real technology instead of just like reading a case study in their business school class, which is valuable to them in an educational sense. 2, for you, it gives you an additional teammate that can help you complete all of the pre-work and post-work for the program, do research, be a thought partner in how you build that company out on paper. And if you are looking for a co-founder, it's a great way to engage with someone over a 6-month period to like evaluate whether or not it would even be worth continuing to work with them in the future. But if you don't need a co-founder and you're just straight up with them about that at the beginning, that's also totally fine. Like we don't enforce that you take that person on to your co-founding team. And if you already have a team, you know, that team can participate in the program with you.
Actually, that's a great value. I didn't think through what you mentioned. I would love to have that opportunity to like even build relationship, whether they become a co-founder or not. It's a later, it can be decided at a later stage. However, at the application stage, do we need to submit a pitch deck, or can we submit an application without the pitch deck?
You need a pitch deck, but it can be like very high level. We do require, like, there's a required upload field for uploading a non-confidential deck. Doesn't need to like be crazy, doesn't need to look super pretty. We have a semifinal round and then a final round. So in the semifinal round, it's less stringent than the final round. So if you're like worried about, oh, is the formatting, am I not gonna be selected if the formatting is terrible? No, like it's fine. It can just be, it should show your data, it should talk about your idea, should talk about who you are. But if it's like 5 slides and it's pretty high level, you know, that's okay. During the fall, if you get accepted as a semifinalist and you get paired with one of these business contributors, they will actually help you. And together, you guys will make a better deck. And then you have a chance to interview to be part of the final cohort. So typically, I love looking at the decks between when people apply and when they interview, because typically they're massively improved because they have more time and they also get matched with a contributor that maybe has more experience communicating in like a slide deck format to sort of investor type people. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
And for the chapters that are not in Boston, like I'm in the Bay Area, where do you see that a true value could we really benefit from what Nucleate has to offer, or is it always going to be kind of compromised?
Yeah, I mean, Nucleate's activator program started in Boston, and then we expanded it around the world. So both Jonathan and Chelsea are, built their companies in the Boston ecosystem and saw the activator as like a differentiated program that provides unique value beyond even what's there in Boston. I think the same thing goes for the Bay Area. We do a very active chapter in the Bay Area. We've got plenty of alumni in the Bay that have gone on to raise like tens of millions of dollars and have really successful companies, which they attribute a lot of their success to, you know, the resources and the teams they formed during the activator program. So I would certainly say it's worth doing. And we have a really strong chapter in the Bay.
Okay, thank you.
Before we go on to oh yeah, Fariha, go for it.
No, I was just gonna say the same thing. So if you're applying for the Bay Area, you will be plugged into the ecosystem there, all the VCs there, all the, whoever's in the pharma over there, everyone's that in that biotech ecosystem, you will be a part of it. So you will be making your own connections. So that doesn't have to do anything with Boston. So no matter what area or what chapter you're applying, you will be plugged in. You will be knowing all the resources that we have. Some of time, many of the times, like some government agencies also help us. So you will also know on your area what kind of resources you have as an early stage founder that you will be needing. So it's always a good idea to apply. Yeah.
Thank you.
And before we go on to some of the other questions in the chat, I just want to flag if there's anyone else that has a question for Jonathan or Chelsea, and then we can let them go maybe a few minutes early and they can get back to doing some great science. And I'm happy to stay on and answer additional questions relating to the program. Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming. If you have
Thank you
any
so much. I totally
final
encourage
words you want
everyone
to
to
say.
apply. So yeah, good
Brilliant.
everyone.
Thank you guys. Okay, someone asked if you need to be a current student or alumni of a specific college to apply. The answer is no. Ivy.
Hello. Hi. So naive question. I'm currently like a PhD student at U of T, and I'm fairly early in my PhD studies. I am like in the symbio, like realms of symbio. I'm just interested in um like biotech and like learning about the space in general, but I currently don't really have a project that I can bring, like apply for, to bring to Nucleate Activator. So I'm wondering if I can just volunteer with the organization or um, perhaps with Activate as a contributor, if that role is what it's for. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
it's a
just.
great question. Yes, you certainly can. I think volunteering to be on the Nucleate leadership team would be a great opportunity and a great first step that I would suggest. And I just put another link in the chat. This is our main link tree, and that
Mhm.
includes a bunch of stuff that you can do to stay connected with us, like subscribe to our newsletter, calendar, all that stuff. And on there, you can apply to be on the leadership team. And maybe I'll just pass it to Fariha for a second to talk a little bit about what that looks like, and maybe some of the things that she's been able to learn and sort of skills that she's been able to gain as being one of the people on the leadership team.
Mhm.
Wow, it's like a never-ending list, but Uh, honestly, you really get to learn so many different skills when you're on the leadership. Like, normally, if you're on the activator, you'll be like learning how to work within a startup, how to like, come up with the business plan, doing all the research, market research, who are your competitors. On the leadership side, we really see a different view. We get to like, do some due diligence. Let's say you are into VC or you're thinking about it. You can like figure out what are the mindset that people go through, project management, certain skills that wherever you go in life, it's gonna really go with you. And those kind of skills that we really get to meet in Nucleate. And also as PhD students, I feel like it's really hard for people to like get out of the lab and know who's like maybe a few blocks away from your university, who's there, you don't know, what are they doing, you don't know, what are the different biotech professionals are there. Through Nucleate, I get to meet so many different people that if I never joined Nucleate, I don't think I would ever get to know these people and all the amazing leadership that we have all around different universities. It's a really big win as a PhD student. I always say it's the highlight of my PhD career that, being part of Nucleate, going to events. So we all do kind of like a 9 to 5, our PhD or postdoc or whoever does that. And then we're just like going on different events, networking, meeting new people, because we also have to recruit the mentors and experts. So you're also making your personal connections with those people. So by the time you're done with your PhD, those people will know you much better. So a lot of benefits. And at the end of the day, we're all very passionate about helping the early stage founders. So we're always thinking, what can we do better? What can we do for the teams that come through our program? What kind of ideas that we have? How can we test them out? So it's always very rewarding. And we have also leadership member who go through activator actually, and then they're so in love with Nucleate that, oh, I want to come back as a leadership. So we have seen those ways too. People do both. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so
Someone,
much.
yeah, I definitely look forward to seeing your application. Shelly asked if it's harder for companies that are not physically in a biotech hub to go through the program. So actually, no. A couple of years ago, we launched what we call our global virtual activator. So this is a fully virtual activator program. Anyone in the world can apply. And it's really cool because we end up matching people together to form teams that are in completely different geographies from each other. So when you're applying to the activator, you can select GVA or global virtual activator as your region. And that'll put you in the pool for that program. So if you are applying and you don't see a region where you live represented, you can just apply for GVA, and that is basically the virtual version of our program. Someone raised their hand. Ketan. Oh,
Sorry about that.
Ketan.
I apologize.
No
Yeah,
worries.
hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, so I'm based in the UK in Greater Manchester. I know you've opened a new chapter in Manchester, correct?
Yep.
And it's a long story. I'm involved in deep technology, so it's a mechanical process which allows certain nanomaterials like nanoparticles to evenly coat, and we can use this for a therapeutic or diagnostic outcome. I'm at technology readiness level 2/3, so like the IP is secure. We know where we want to go with that. I'm not so plugged in with my local ecosystem. I'm looking outside of my Manchester ecosystem. But I'm just wanting to primarily check, is it too early for your program? And the purpose and mission of my company is that we would help drive the future versions of lateral flow test kits. So something which would give a fingerprint readout, but also do stage diagnosis, which in my opinion is what's going to happen next anyway, but it's more extra levels of accuracy, sensitivity, and potentially less false positives and negatives. So yeah, two questions really. Am I too early? And the second question is, there are personal reasons why I don't plug into my local ecosystem. I still go to workshops, I still keep an eye on things, but I try not plug into it too much because of previous interactions. Yeah. So is that a problem? Yeah.
I don't think it's too early for you to apply.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of applying to the Manchester chapter, which is part of the larger UK chapter that has several different hubs.
Mm-hmm.
There is some programming that's a good way to sort of be in Manchester and sort of engage with people there, as well as get connected to people in London and Oxford and the other chapters, because the chapters are
Yeah.
all part of the same organization. So they have a lot of
Ecosystem.
exchange, and yeah, they invite each other to events. And I don't know what they're going to do this year for their demo day or forum, if they're going to do that. I think last year it was like all of the chapters came together for that one event in London, so that'll probably be similar this for this year. So yeah, I think definitely I would apply.
Okay. And I've asked the lady who's running the Manchester chapter. I no longer have a university affiliate email, so .ac.uk. So I've got it confirmed that I can use my business email as the
Yep.
founder stroke entrepreneur. So that shouldn't really, it won't be a big problem, correct?
No, that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, I like to look into these things nitty gritty in the sense that it's my time and effort, isn't it? If I can't apply, then I should look at something else. So that's why I asked these questions at the start, just to make sure if it's worth the time to do. It's not valuable. And yeah, okay. I've got other deadlines to meet as well. But when you say rolling application, this will be my last question. When you say rolling application, I appreciate always applying early is good practice. It's just not always practical because with a full-time job, it's a bit difficult juggling things. There won't be any objection, for example, I apply on the 19th or the 18th of October.
No,
It'll still get
I
looked
just
in,
always encourage people to apply
apply early.
early because we have
Yeah,
people looking at the applications consistently. So it's just, and for applications that are really good, we might like admit you maybe even early, and then you get access,
yeah,
you get more information earlier. It helps you prepare, all
yeah,
that stuff. So, but just as long as
yeah.
you apply before the deadline, that'll obviously be great. And Fariha wants to add a comment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the academic email is not a required question, so you shouldn't be.
Worried about that. Yeah, yeah.
I would say
And I can reassure you guys, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. For example, I've applied 6 or 9 months early before. I try and be very organized. So I was hoping to apply for this by now, but it's just things have got in the middle of trying to organize it all. So, okay.
No worries.
we still recommend you to start the application early so you know that
Of
maybe
course,
come
I
back and
agree.
those things
I
Yeah.
up.
agree.
It's not super complicated. I think, the pitch deck
No,
obviously
compared
is a
to,
big
yeah,
part. And then it probably take like, if you already have like a pitch deck and you've filled out other applications for things before, I would say like
yeah.
maybe take you an hour, maybe.
Yeah,
You could
I'm
probably do it in like
comparing it
30,
with,
45.
yeah, I'm comparing it with the Activate Fellowship. That is quite a long period, takes a lot of time. So I can see
Yeah.
the difference between these two application programs. So yeah, I appreciate
Activate
yours is more
fellowship.
stream. Yeah,
Yeah, will take a lot longer to get. And one of the things that I don't think either John or Chelsea were, but we have a lot of alumni that go through the activator and then actually go on to get the Activate Fellowship as well. So it's also a great
good
way, sort of they mentioned,
to,
like you get prepared, you have materials that you can send to investors, et cetera. Going through the program is a great way to also just generate materials and sort of credibility that you can then reuse for things like the Activate Fellowship or the Blavatnik Fellowship, or, insert whatever fellowship exists in whatever region you're in. Okay,
yeah,
there's a couple
I'll let you
others
go.
that
Yeah, other people
yeah,
asking
no
questions.
worries.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, thank you. We're gonna try and end on time, so I'm just gonna try and blow through the rest of these really quickly. If I apply to a local activator, I don't see a project I'm interested in. Can I try and find a project in other chapters or the global activator? Yes. So we encourage you to first apply to your local chapter. And then if something doesn't fit for you, we often will share contributors between other chapters that are looking for other contributors after the fact. So that happens a little bit later in fall. But to start, you would just apply to the chapter that you would hope to join. Can Nucleate help groups via the activator access mentors and resources for more active biotech hubs? Yes. So that's Diana's question. We see that about 60% of the mentors we pair people with are from their local ecosystem, but only about 30% of experts that we pair people with during the workshops are from their local ecosystem. So because a lot of the workshops and a lot of the programming is virtual, we're able to kind of import and export talent and resources from different ecosystems. And also, interacting with our sponsors is also a great way to sort of get access to resources that may not be, in your particular country or ecosystem. Yes, the person who joined late, if you go to the activator link tree, we'll put the link up for the recording of this info session there. I'm just going to post it in the chat again. Also, there is another info session next week. If you go to the link that I just posted, there's a whole bunch of information. There's the application, there's like an FAQ document, there's links to past info sessions, there's links to a alumni panel we did at our virtual summit, and there's a link of all of the info sessions that are upcoming. There's probably like, I don't even know, at least 10, 15 either in-person or virtual info sessions that are happening across all of the chapters in the next few weeks as we get close to application close. So plenty of ways to stay involved. All right, thank you all for your time. Looking forward to seeing a lot of familiar names in the application pool after this call. So thank you all very much, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. And thank you to Fariha and all of the rest of our panelists.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.